Welcome back. So there was one thing omitted. I've kind of hinted at it, but I've omitted it just because of the way the P51 works. There's no instruments giving you the fuel flow. But this is something that's quite important, and it does affect flight in, well, it's pretty critical actually when you think about it, because you need fuel to fly. So the P51 doesn't have an instrument to show you how much fuel you're using. You pretty much either have to memorize the engine ratings section here in the manual or print it out. Even then, I'm not sure whether the difference between the engine power in the T51 trainer and the P51D fighter is different. They could be. The fuel flow might be a little bit less in the trainer. So we've kind of avoided that because there's no real way with the P51 to kind of work that out on the fly. But with the newer aircraft, they do give you instruments. If you have a look at down on the bottom left, you can see the A10C has fuel flow, which is pounds per hour, and the Hornet has pounds per hour as well. So you can have a quick look down and work out how much time you've got left, and it's a fairly simple mathematical process, which whatever you've got left divided by your fuel flow is your available time and distance, because obviously you can work out from your speed and how much fuel you've got your distance, and that is quite important when you're, say on a multiplayer server and you decide to go bomb someone's airfield, which I think that's illegal on some on some servers, but it is possible to do. You just need to be aware of can you actually do it and then RTB, or do you need to RTB first? So it is quite an important factor when making decisions or even planning a mission. So the previous video, I've kind of got you understanding how they're all relating to each other, how important the calculations of distance and speed and time, how they all kind of work together. Because if you did the full practical with the information provided and had a bit of a read on how you calculate that, you would have noticed that your ground speed, especially in the older aircraft, your ground speed, you can't really tell what's going on. So it does become important to understand how the pitot tube is affected by your altitude and the thinner air. All these things do matter if you want to fly as professionally as possible. They're not necessary when playing DCS, because obviously you're not worried about your life or $1 million, $2 billion aircraft. That doesn't matter. We're there to have fun. But these things do actually matter and come into the mix. Something that I don't think is modelled though, to be honest, I'm not sure, but weather and temperature do actually affect the volume of fuel. So you might not be able to fit in a certain volume. Now, it's negligible when you're talking about 100 pounds, 200 pounds, but when you're talking about 1,000 pounds, the volume change with temperature does actually play a role. But that's for real life. I don't think that's actually modelled in DCS, so we're not going to worry about it. We're not even going to discuss it. Just something that, if you want to investigate, go ahead and investigate. But I don't think it's modelled here. When you put in 100 pounds, you put in 100 pounds. When you put in 1,000 pounds, you get your 1,000 pounds. That's the way it works on this. So, other than that, if you want, you can go back into the old, not the old, the edited mission. And now, with the whole ground speed and everything working out, how fast are you going in your climb? How much distance are you covering in a certain amount of time? It gets really complex if you want to do this, but you can kind of work out how many gallons you're going to use in the P51, and try and work out, can I get back with 3 gallons left or something like that. Very difficult thing to do, but you can kind of work it out if you've done that flight, and you can see, because the weather won't change, and see how long it takes you in the climb. how much fuel you're using with your particular engine settings, then you'll be able to work out pretty close how many gallons of fuel that you're going to require, and cut it really close if you like. But basically it's a very simple mathematical task of taking the tank, how much is left, dividing it by your fuel flow. That'll give you your time left in flight, and then from the time left in flight you can work out how fast you can go and how much distance you can cover. So all these things are very related, and as I mentioned before, if you want to do it properly, there are things you need to think of, like your indicated airspeed is going to be off by a certain percentage every time you climb something like 1,000 or 2,000 feet, that kind of thing. So if you want to do it properly, it does get really important. But for DCS, just a ballpark figure, understanding how these things work is perfectly fine. And I think this really shows off the skill of the pilots back in World War II. The things that they would have had to remember, the things they would have had to work out, as well as navigation with the whole maps and everything. It's incredible, and it's given me a new respect for them. I mean, not that I ever didn't respect them. I thought they were fantastic, but actually looking into what they had to do historically, it almost brings a tear to my eye to think these men were so skilled with such little information given to them. I don't know. I'm in awe, basically. And then when they get into dogfights, they have to manage how much fuel they've got left, the maneuvers they're doing, how many rounds they've got left, then navigate their way back, probably even, at dusk or as it's getting dark, and somehow find their way back to their airfield with no GPS, just going purely off the lights of the ground, which probably were covered with, things to hide the bombing runs. Absolutely incredible. But yes, this is the World War II warbirds. This is what they're all about. This is what makes them such an incredible thing to fly. If you want to do it properly, this is where it's at. This is where the fun is. This is the mastering of a machine, to be honest. And there's a lot that goes into it. With the newer machines, I'm not bagging them. They're complex in their own different way. But the World War II planes are pure flight. That's what they're there for. They are a joy to learn, basically, is what I'm saying. But moving forward, when we start looking at weapon systems and radar and stuff like that, which the thing I want to give you a bit of a winky eye at is the distance and speed and time and the bearings. So when it comes radar time, that's pretty much going to be the only A-level secret thing that I'm ever going to go into is using the radar, because not that I know, I mean, I'm not a fighter pilot, but I'm not a dogfighter either. I prefer shooting the ground. I understand the maneuvers, but to be completely honest and throw it out on the table, I'm not very good at dogfighting, although I understand some of the concepts. I understand the maneuvers, energy exchange. I'm really just going to concentrate more on the weapon systems and ground attack, because that's where I find fun. Every time I've gone into a dogfight, I don't do too well. It takes me a few goes to kind of get the hang of it every time. I'm not a dogfighter, to be honest. So I'm just going to throw that out on the table, and the best I can do is a little bit of tactics. That's just going to throw that out there, and full disclosure, I'm more of a ground attack guy. Other than that, feel free to go back into the previous mission that we made in the last practical and have a look at the gallons, try and work out fuel flow, that kind of thing, if you want. That's kind of extra credit for yourself, because obviously I'm not giving any rewards or any any medals for you going through it, but it's there for you to learn, and if you want to get good at it, go for it. But yeah, the reason we didn't do it in the Mustang is because there's no real instrument to show you how to do it on the fly. So I've had to tack this on afterwards, because we can't really make it a part of of the mission, especially since it's going to be different with climbing speeds and that kind of thing. That's really going to throw you off going up to 17,000 feet. But after you've done that and you've worked out kind of how long it's taking you, how much distance you're traveling, how much fuel you're using, then you can kind of work it out. Because these World War II machines, you pretty much had to pre-plan this kind of stuff, and I didn't really want to throw that in the mix yet. But yeah, it's something we do need to tack on. That is the last of this very basic level to kind of get you to understand what's going on at this level of piloting in a virtual world. So this will be the last episode for the Green series, and we'll move on to the Blue series, and we're going to start looking at weapon systems, how they work, and maybe start getting into the deployment of some of them, showing you how radar works, that kind of thing. And I think in the Blue series I'll give you the only secret that I really know when it comes to tactics, even though I should probably put it in a later series, but I'll put it in the Blue series just to get it out of the way. Anyway, thanks for watching. I did ramble a bit, I do apologise for that. Basically because I feel like there's so much more to talk about the fuel flow and the distance and speed and that, but I don't want to go too much into mathematics and bore you. I just want to show you it's there if you're interested in it, which I recommend. It's something that you do. It's quite important. Like a lot of the things I've gone through are quite important actually, but we've glanced over them. Extra reading's pretty much required for that, but I also want to keep it very short and sweet for those that don't want to go into in depth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the Blue series.